Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another pair of journaling cards to share, and I'm using the jelly print. I started this one in my last journaling card making video and I love this one so much, and I believe I have recorded the process for these kind of prints. I have to search on my phone for the recording, and I hopefully did record it, and then I will as soon as possible make a video here on YouTube. I'm using jelly prints, leftover papers, also these papers where I clean the brayer from the jelly printing, and sometimes I do some stenciling on top like I did it here. And yes, I'm gluing everything down with my glue stick, and the card base is cut from Canson Mix Media paper. I can't talk too much because my voice is still not good. As I told you, I'm recording a bunch of videos at the moment because we are going on holidays, and I will schedule all of the videos for YouTube, and that's why I do a bunch of them all at once. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure out which papers I want to glue down. But I really enjoy that process. It's so relaxing and it makes a lot of fun, and that's why I'm doing it. I'm using a transparent gesso to cover the whole card that seals the paper, and I also love the texture you get because it's quite a rough texture, but it is not milky, so all the colors will still be there, and you can go on top with any medium. Everything will work on top of this gesso. It's not the same as the white gesso because the white dries much smoother, and you can't go on the white gesso with watercolors or, for example, distress inks. That does not really work. Well, watercolors work, they work just a bit different, but with inks it's difficult with the stamping inks because they might not dry on white gesso, but they do dry on this clear gesso. It might be the brand that makes the difference. So my clear gesso is from PBO, whilst my white gesso is from Liquitex. I haven't tried any other clear gesso. While this is drying, I will create the second card, and I will try to use similar colors so the cards look cohesive in the end. I'm using that catalyst blade to press down the papers again, and also to remove the gesso that is maybe a bit too much on my cards. I will now do some stenciling with our Marks #1 stencil and some heavy body acrylic paint. This is the one from Paul Rubens, and I really like it, especially because you can use it to create texture through a stencil, so you don't have to use a texture paste. I really like how bold this yellow stands out on the cards, and it also gives you a bit of dimension, and you can also use this technique to create kind of a resist effect if you want to go on top with a more of a watercolor medium. I'm just blending in some of the marks that are not fully on the card, and that is really nice to just make look everything a bit more cohesive. I'm definitely missing something pink on the left card, and that's the reason why I am going to add in a bit more of collage, and I'm using that same paper I have on the other card with some pink on it. I'm going to ink up the edges of the cards with some darker ink. I'm using Stone Gray from StazOn, and that gives them kind of a frame and makes the colors pop even more. I'm using Payne's Gray acrylic ink to make some splatters on the cards. As focal images, I decided to pick some of our Sketchy Birds #2, and I've stamped them to watercolor cardstock. I'm using the the Canson XL watercolor paper because it's perfect to stamp on as it's quite smooth. And also these watercolor markers blend super well on this paper. I'm using, I believe it's the Ohuhu brand. I like these markers very much. I use them often in my sketchbook just for sketching and laying down color, or here to color in stamped images. I'm going to speed up the process a bit so you don't get bored. I've cut out my birdies and now I'm adhering them to my cards. I just check if I like that bottom piece for this one here. I think I will not use this one. I'm adhering the birds with some wet glue. I'm using an Inktense pencil. I believe it's quite a dark color, and I just pick it up from the nib with a watercolor brush. Okay, I decided to pick another color, so I'm using simply a black watercolor marker, and I'm painting kind of a bottom for the bird to sit on. Yes, and these are my finished cards for today. I hope you found it helpful. I've added a sentiment to each card with our Mix a Sentiment stamp set, and the other stamp is, I believe, from any of the Mix It Up stamp sets. Yes, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and maybe you like to enjoy some of the other videos. Bye!